Hello, friends. Welcome back to Spike Week. I'm Erik Beimfohr, and on today's show, we are diving in to a new format. One, my good friend Rob Coakley here at Spike Week has been pushing hard for, and that is weeks 1 to 4, the first quarter on Underdog. Very fun, unique, best total, best ball sicko, and early season sweat. A week 4 championship round that we get to sweat in the beginning of the season. We're going to dive into all the nuances of the strategy for this format. It is filling fast. I imagine they're going to be running multiple of these. And so we get to draft a very fun new format here on Underdog. Let's do it. I might want to get my StreamYard all set up here. GM to all the folks. D Owens, are we going to do content on mini best ball 2? Yeah, that will be coming down the pipeline. We'll hit all of the fun games, including eliminator and all of that down the home stretch here. We wanted to make sure we got our main pieces of content out, right? BBM, all of our favorite stacks and picks and everything here at Spike Week first, and then we'll hit some of these. I'm particularly excited about this first quarter contest on Underdog because it's wildly like the mini best ball stuff. That's cool. It's interesting to me. I'm particularly fascinated by tournaments like the Eliminator, tournaments like this, where the strategy wildly gets flipped on its head. Just like reducing roster sizes or those kinds of things. It's just like kind of giving everybody a supercharged team. There's some fun strategy we can do around those formats as well. And then, total points versus our playoff formats. There's definitely a lot of differences there, but they're more so subtle differences. You kind of got to draft the best players in all formats, right? Of fantasy football. If you want to win, draft Saquon, Jamar Chase, Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, etc. On to the next. In this, however, tournaments like this, the first quarter, it is so unique that the players who are the best picks in this can absolutely be the stone cold opposite of the best picks in something like Best Ball Mania, even in something like the Eliminator. There's some crossovers, of course, between the Eliminator and this particular tournament, but it is absolutely maybe the most unique tournament that we have in the space. So we're going to walk through this tournament because if you are a best ball sicko, which if you're watching a Spike Week stream at 10 a.m. Eastern on a Thursday morning, you probably are, one of these hardcore grinders. These are the tournaments I think that we can extrapolate a lot of edge. As just very off the rip, like there's just going to be guys that even get drafted that shouldn't be getting drafted at all in this contest. And so as Rick says, it's going to fill, it is, let's go ahead and pull it up right now. It is almost 50% full, I believe, already. It is 48.5% full as of this morning. It is a 50 max contest. Let me share for some details here. So it's called the first quarter. Weeks 1 to 4 contest, of course, $15,000 to first place for a $5 buy-in. That seems pretty fun. It's also particularly fun, like if you're grinding best ball, it's like we don't get any real sweats until the very end of the season, week 17, right? Maybe you sweat week 14 to see how many teams you advance, but we got months to wait before we get like a real serious sweat. In this tournament, it's like from the jump, of course, in week 1, but then week 4 is a 300 plus person final. So we can kind of get our like week 17 sweat going early in the season, which is always fun. As much as we want to talk about grinding the different, strategic edges and plus EV and all these different things that we love to talk about, that I love to talk about, there's also the fun element and the sweat equity, if you will, a very different kind of sweat equity than in the real world. But having something to be sweating in that first month of the season is just like makes it even more fun. It makes the season even more enjoyable. So let's dive into the specifics. Of course, this is an article that I have put up this morning on spikeweek.com. Of course, if you just watch the YouTube streams, we do have a website. That's where all our tools are. That's where our rankings are. That's where all of my written content and our team's written content is over there. We have everything from college football to NBA to MLB to, we're going to have, Battle Royale rankings. I'm working on the very first college football Battle Royale rankings for week 0. We're going to have all of that stuff, including DFS and sports betting picks as well in season, all over at spikeweek.com. And you can find this article, and it is linked in the description if you would like to read it yourself later. But again, $5 entry, $100,000 of a prize pool. I wonder if they'll make a bigger one upcoming here. So this is just the first run, right? If this closes, which it's probably going to close like tonight or tomorrow morning, something. I imagine they'll run another one with how popular this one was, but we'll see. Nonetheless, $5 entry fee. And when we really start to get into it, I thought when they launched this that they would do just like the easiest way from an operator perspective, right? Underdog, DraftKings, etc. The easiest way to launch something like this would be to do just a total points over the first 4 weeks. It's very easy. Everybody gets drafted, right? They just use their like marathon, essentially, whatever code that they built on the back end. But as fun as that would be, and it would be fun, this is more fun. So it starts in week 1, and that's you draft in your same 12-team league, and that's kind of like your weeks 1 to 14 in Best Ball Mania or in the DraftKings Millie. You need to finish in the top 2 out of 12 in that first round, but that first round is only week 1. So week 1 is like this big, like mini, DFS tournament, like a very, very micro small field DFS tournament. And you got to finish in the top 2, right? You're playing in the Thunderdome. Congratulations, the $5 Thunderdome. Welcome to the Thunderdome. You know what? You're playing in this 12-person, like little mini DFS tournament, but you're also then playing in 3 more DFS tournaments, very small ones, with the same team. Right? It's like if we showed up to week 1 and we had to build that DFS team, but we had to play it against all these people in week 2 and week 3 and week 4, and we couldn't change our DFS team. Obviously, there's a little bit of subtle differences, of course, in just the format of best ball. You're drafting 18 players, et cetera, et cetera. But that makes this like super fun to me, the fact that it's round by round advancements. And then, as I mentioned, the specific details of the advancement is 2 out of 12 in round 1 to move on to round 2. So in week 1, you got to finish first or second out of your original 12-person pod. So that's a big deal, right? Most of your teams are going to get knocked out in that stage. So we clearly need to be focusing on week 1 pretty heavily. What's interesting is that when we move to week 2 and week 3, it's like the opposite of week 1, and definitely the opposite of week 4. In week 2, you're in just a 5-person pod. So if you have a great week 1, whatever your stack, your first round pick, etc., go nuts. You finish second. You only move on to a 5-person pod in the second group. So now you're like, oh, all I got to do is beat 3 people. Hope that they have bad teams. Hope to run good. Awesome. I advance there, right? I get second again. Now it's still just a 4-person pod in week 3, right? I'll take my chances 1 out of 4, 25% chance, right? Cool. That sounds good. And then it all gets flipped on its head. You make it to week 4, you've made it to the finals. Now there's 374 teams in the final. So we go from really difficult week 1, like pretty difficult, 2 out of 12, right? Let's call it 17%. You have a 17% chance to advance out of week 1. But then it goes to, not only is it a 40% advance rate in week 2, there's only 5 teams. So you can also like kind of get a little, right? The variance can play out in your favor, just the small numbers. Having to only beat 3 teams is still, that could go bad for you, of course, from a pod variance perspective, but it also could go really good for you, given the fact that there's only 3 teams that you have to beat. Same thing in week 3. Only got to beat 3 teams. Still not going to be easy. 25% chance versus, 40% chance in week 2. But the difference in those weeks compared to week 1 and then compared to 374 seats in the final, it is $15,000 to first place. And Let me double check. The 374th gets your money back. So, excuse me, 374th makes $50. If you advance, you get your money back. So if you advance, you get your money back. So advancing is both simultaneously insanely important and also like you only just get right. It's just like, here's your $5 bill back if you advance. If you make the final, though, you 10x that $5. But it's pretty difficult actually to make the final, even though this seems a little bit easier than we might expect. An interesting point that I think Versailles brings up that is something that I don't want to like overthink, but it is going to end up important. Round two, while it is actually the easiest, and I still stand by it, will be 2 out of 5 is just simply the easiest round. But given the fact that week 1, right, there's only going to be so many good fantasy games in week 1, and you're going to need some of those very good fantasy games in week 1 to finish top 2 out of 12, which means in round 2, there's probably going to be a lot of overlap in teams that make it to round 2. So anything that we can do in our drafts to hopefully manipulate, right? It's instead of just like letting the draft come to us, how can we take advantage of that fact that we know, all right, now in week 2, sure, it's 40% advance, but there's going to be so much ownership overlap in round 2 and probably in round 3 and honestly probably in round 4 still because of this advanced structure being very difficult in week 1. And then there's just going to be a trickle down effect, right? Of whoever has the biggest games in week 1 is going to be represented further down the line in this tournament. And so definitely something to consider. I don't want to overreact to it by any stretch of the imagination, but that's sort of a quick breakdown of what the advancement structure looks like and kind of what the tournament structure looks like. I'll hit some of you guys' comments before we dive into a little bit of strategy, and then we'll pop into a couple of these drafts because I am going to try to get as many into this tournament as I can. I did 3 fast drafts last night, and I popped in just 7 slows, and woke up this morning, and it's like 50% full. So that was not enough. That wasn't enough. I mean, $5. It's a 50 max contest. So that's also pretty cool. You know, you're not going to be competing against 150. You can spend $250 for a shot at 15K and a really fun early season sweat, right? It's kind of like take the $250 out of your DFS budget or your betting budget or your whatever for the first month of the season, your battle royale budget, and put it into here, and it kind of is still going to serve the same purpose. That's how I'm handling it. Let's see here. Deep Threat says, today we win hard. I like it. Good morning. Good morning. Talk faster. I just jumped into a first quarter. That's hilarious. My initial thoughts, Dylan says, were elite onesies and stopped. Then I read an X thread that I was dumb for that. Well, first of all, anything that you are probably dumb for reading a thread on Twitter. So I'm obviously trolling, but I wouldn't worry so much about some thread on Twitter. Those are generally for engagement as opposed to maybe, I'm not saying, I don't know what you're referring to. It could have been an absolutely brilliant thread for all that I know. But what I will say is, and I wrote in this article, I'm not going to like read it all to you, but you can check it out. Of course, again, it's free. It's in the description. I called it a venting session. So maybe this was meant to be. Dylan, you were meant to bring this up. If anybody tells you that there's a right way to construct it, like from a roster construction perspective, right? Take how many of this position, you have to take this position by X round, or, you know, you can't punt tight end, you can't draft hero running back, you have to draft robust running back, whatever. If somebody tells you some form of roster construction is right and some form of roster construction is wrong in this tournament, they're wrong. Okay. So if you believe that you want to stop with an elite quarterback and an elite tight end and not draft any more of them, you absolutely can do that. I think it's a perfectly solid strategy to do here. I discuss in here some different reasons why maybe a solo tight end isn't as good, because so think about the player pool from the player pool perspective. When it's weeks 1 to 4, a lot of the guys we draft in best ball, like look at like Luther Burden. I love Luther Burden. That's my boy, right? That's the hometown kid. Also, he rocks. He's a good football player. I love him. Weeks 1 to 4, like he's certainly in the player pool. but like he's a much worse pick. Like we don't expect him to start. Is Trey Harris even draftable? He also got banged up yesterday. Like, is Trey Harris even draftable? Chris Godwin, I removed from this player pool. Brandon Ayuk is not draftable here. Najee, Joe Mixon, right? There's a bunch of these guys. Caleb Johnson is worse. There's just like a bunch of players who are just like legit not draftable in this format. There are some guys who are more draftable, but the player pool shrinks because we can't draft these guys for late season upside, or like the contingent value plays are worse. I think they're still viable, but worse, right? This is a worse format for Will Shipley and Tyler Algier than regular best ball is. Doesn't mean that they're not draftable, but it does shrink them down. And so when we get to later rounds, you do still have a lot of like tight ends that are playing a lot, and they become kind of some of the better picks. That's not a rule. That's not a right versus wrong, but it's something to consider from the solo tight end perspective. I drafted 3 teams, and 2 of them are solo quarterback. I haven't done any solo tight end yet. But I think that the quarterback part, because of how simple the advancing is in round 2 and round 3, if I get a good week 1, let's say I quite like Brock Purdy, right? Let's say I draft Brock Purdy, or I draft an elite quarterback. I draft Joe Burrow, because Bengals go Burr, right? We'll talk about the Bengals. I draft Joe Burrow. Like, I need a good game in week 1. He doesn't have to be the QB1. A, 2 teams advance, and B, like, quarterback scoring is pretty flat, generally speaking. If Burrow just goes and gets his 20 plus, I can advance with all of my other options. Then in week 2 and week 3, like, you definitely don't need the nuts at quarterback, right? There's only 5 people in your pod and only 4 people in your pod. Now in week 4, I need a big spike, but that's a totally reasonable like sequence of events, right? Good week 1 doesn't have to be awesome, but just give me a good week 1, and then just at least give me serviceable week 2 and week 3. I can survive those, and then but week 4, I need the big game, right? So like I can easily envision that scenario. Does that mean you have to draft solo quarterback, or solo quarterback is right or better or whatever? No, I think that no matter how you sort of construct your teams, so long as that story makes sense, I think you're absolutely on the right track in this tournament. I don't think that there's like this, you got to do this, you got to draft this many of this position. I think that there's a ton of different ways to construct teams in this specific tournament. Honestly, a lot more so than like our standard format of best ball. That's what makes it fun. That's why I'm excited. That's why I'm having an individual show about this, about this specific tournament, this contest, this format, because I think it is wildly unique, and it being that unique allows us to build like a million different ways in these tournaments. Let's see here. Brad, shout out Brad, says, GM, I rarely get a chance to listen live, so I wanted to say thanks for all your content in the Draft Hacker. You helped me get a top 10 finish. Oh, awesome. Helped me get a top 10 finish in the Eliminator last year. What a fun, I bet that was fun. A really, really fun sweat, I imagine, the Eliminator. I still have a bunch of Eliminator slows going. I will say the Draft Hacker is incredible for that kind of tournament, these niche kind of tournaments. It's absolutely awesome. Of course, if you have Spike Week Premium, you can get, I put out last night, you need to have very different rankings for this tournament is the first thing I will say. So I made sure to customize the rankings. Those are downloadable as well on the site specific to this tournament. So you'll see some crazy names at the back end of the rankings that just like, I think that speak to the difference in this format. Lucky Jackson is in my top 250, right? Hacker and I were talking last night about like Parker Washington is a better pick, I think, and maybe he's a reasonable pick in all of them, but maybe a better pick. It's possible. I'm not saying this happens. I'm saying, well, what if Travis Hunter does come out a little bit slower, or he is banged up or whatever, and Parker Washington's like a full-time wide receiver or something, something like that. There's guys like that are drafted. I mean, the Russell Wilsons, the Daniel Joneses, those guys are probably better picks here in this format, et cetera, right? So go grab those rankings. Those are available on the site as well. But shout out Brad, and thank you for the kind words. Amen, Mac. I am with you. Yeah, I put Rashee. A text says only one tight end, an elite, and Rashee Rice. I like Rashee Rice is kind of an incredible pick in this. I didn't put him on in the article. I have like some specific players down here. He almost made the list, but he did not specifically make the list, though he should have. To Texas point, Rashee, right? The suspension concerns are not relevant for this particular format. So he's not going to be suspended in the I shouldn't say he's not going to be, because every time we think something's going to happen with Rashee Rice, every time we think something's going to happen with any of this shit that's happening this offseason, right? Chris Godwin, every Bucs guy, everybody around the Bucs is like, well, he hasn't even done anything in camp. I would be I forget who it was I would be shocked if he doesn't start the season on PUP. And then this morning, he's getting activated and he's not going to start the season on PUP. So like Rashee's suspended, he isn't. It's week 5, it's week 10, it's week whatever. Like I'm gonna stop pretending like what is most logical and most likely to happen is going to happen. However, the most likely and logical scenario is Rashee Rice is playing in this every game of this tournament. So all of the concerns and like the lingering ADP impacts of him don't matter here in this tournament. So we have to treat it wildly differently. As Bree says, I think it's all like we were talking last night. Every Wednesday night in the Spike Week Discord, we have what we call the lab. I've talked about it before, where we kind of all hop on a big Zoom call and talk ball, right? Talk strategy. We talked about this tournament a good bit, and players that we don't really necessarily like in Best Ball Mania or other normal best ball tournament structures, like can be awesome picks in this. Like I think Christian McCaffrey, who's on the thumbnail, and I'll just go to the player targets. I put him as like he's a screaming target in this tournament. He's healthy right now. You have all of these other 49ers that are injured. I don't necessarily love him at his cost in Best Ball Mania. I understand, like if you do, this is just an example for me. I'm light on Christian McCaffrey overall in my best ball portfolio. This seems like an awesome place to go get my Christian McCaffrey, because this is all of it. Like most of his concerns from a BBM perspective are nullified in this format. I quite like, particularly right now in the moment, like Mike Evans more, but what a great tournament for Mike Evans. Godwin, we don't know exactly when he'll be back. He's going to be ramping up, right? But probably not full go, even when he gets back in week 3 or something. And obviously Jalen McMillan is out. So like, what a great tournament for Mike Evans. Obviously the Ricky Pearsalls of the world. What a great tournament for a bunch of these guys. Some of which we were drafting and some of which we really weren't. I think it's an awesome way to handle your portfolio in that regard. Minus 5,000 odds. There will be a second, third, and fourth quarter tourneys. Says, the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter. Seems pretty good. So we can take this, and we will be talking about those when they come out in season 2. We can take this video, this strategy, and apply it then. But then in those tournaments, we'll be dealing with bye weeks, right? And injuries and all that kind of stuff. So we'll add an extra wrinkle when we get to those tournaments. Let's see. With all these early week underdog tournaments, do you think the draft hacker can incorporate early weeks instead of? Yeah, you can. You can select. I would have to. We can look at it a little bit later. You can change weeks and stuff that you're viewing from within the draft hacker to custom fit for this tournament. I haven't done it yet, but you can. That functionality exists. Isn't this a Michael, nice. Meeting ends early. We can draft some best ball teams. Let's go. Isn't this a tournament they should give up a little projection for differentiation, similar to Showdown on DK? I think so. So differentiate. I want to be cautious about differentiation, like the moment the tournament launches. That being said, this tournament's only going to be open for like 36 hours, like Rick said. So, maybe that was foolish. Maybe we'll see when the next one. I think they might launch it in a first quarter too, or whatever. Or right, the second first quarter. Real mind bender. We want to have different teams because of the overlap that's going to occur. So how do we manufacture that? That depends, because you definitely want to be different, and it's okay to give up a little bit of projection to do so, but you do still ultimately need to get out of the first round, right? So like it depends on what we're talking about giving up projection to take Luther Burden over someone else, giving up projection to take, or just giving up projection to take a slightly worse wide receiver who still is, going to score points or whatever, that's lower owned with the players you've drafted. We got to try to thread that needle. You know what I mean? Solo QB seems to be best for mini best ball. Still think you want at least two QBs for multiple ceilings. I think that's totally reasonable. Call me a fish, but I took Darnell Mooney in my last round in my first draft. We just don't know. Like Darnell Mooney could miss this whole tournament. Darnell Mooney is one of the tricky ones because all these other guys we generally have gotten like some kind of timeline. We have like even Chris Godwin, we have a better timeline than we do. We just don't know. Darnell Mooney could play week 1, or he could go on pup list. Like I have no idea what's going on with Darnell Mooney because they're not telling us. So Wyatt says the old Bill, aka Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, JCM hype is out of control. Why are we so confident Chris Rodriguez is obsolete? My brother, from your lips to my ears, I've been drafting Chris Rodriguez right now. So I'm with you. Yeah. So one thing I'll say, first of all, the word nutted just always makes me laugh. I am 37 years old and I will never stop laughing at the word nutted. Okay. So I just want that out there, that when someone says this, I'm going to laugh. But says Danny Dimes seems nutted in this format at cost ADP 205 and basically zero bench risk. Yet the only problem for Daniel Jones in this format or any is scoring fantasy points. We still need fantasy points. Like, yes, I agree. He's a significantly better pick in this format. He may end up not really having bench risk other than Riley Leonard taking over later in the season in real life anyway. But the only problem for Daniel Jones is we do need him to score for fantasy points, not just that he's going to get benched. I'm much more concerned about the fantasy point part of it. Let's see here. I think Rashee Rice is a dead pick in this format. He has a huge incentive to try and get a 6-week suspension to start the season. So he's not going to get a 6-week suspension to start the season. That his hearing isn't until week 5. That's why. So all the back and forth and stuff, he cannot, unless something drastically changes in the next couple of weeks. His hearing to decide his suspension is in week 5. So he's not going to be suspended for weeks 1 through 4. Because the hearing is what decides it. They could move his hearing up, or anything could technically happen. But that's why we're talking about Rashee in this format. Let's see. Imagine a week 8 final for the Q2 tournament. Yeah, and all the goddamn teams on week 8 bye. That's going to be nuts. Absolutely nuts. Is this a tourney you should do slows in? Should is up to up to anyone. I'm going to do not all slows, but I'm gonna do quite a few slows. I think slows are great for this tournament. For instance, last night, now it didn't end up being in this tournament, but slows can be really good at this time of year. What happened for me, as an example that can be really beneficial for slow drafts, is if you kind of continue to layer in slow drafts, right? Don't just enter 150 or whatever on the same day. Kind of layer, toss 5 in today and 5 in tomorrow and wait a few days and do something like that. I know you can't do that for this tournament, but as an example, then this time of year comes and we're getting kind of right. We get the Godwin news. We get Devon Vele traded. We get, the Rashee Rice updates every other day. We get this guy got hurt and that guy got hurt. You can pounce because if you layer them in, you're like almost guaranteed to be on the clock at a bunch of different points throughout a draft. And so like for me yesterday, right, Devon Vele gets traded, wheels up Marvin Mims, Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, like total wheels up smash fest for those guys. And so you get on the clock, that news breaks and you're like, well, whatever, like, pick 175 Pat Bryant, bingo, pick 120 Marvin Mims, boom. Yeah. And just like pick off those guys that, you can try to react in a fast draft, but it's like a game of chicken. Are there other people in your draft that are trying to do the same thing? How far do you reach to go get the guy that you entered the draft to get? The slows can be helpful in that regard. Let's see. Dylan is pulling up Eckler and Jerome Ford. I think that is fair. I prefer I won't get into all the different player targets, but Dylan Sampson is like one of my favorite picks in this entire format. We talked about we've talked about Quinshon Judkins a lot. We talked about Quinshon Judkins again on Tuesday. But I just a rookie running back. Joe Flacco's the quarterback, so like I think the offense will be fine in Cleveland. And the perfect segue into we don't got to dive into all these different games, but I kind of broke down some of my favorite Week 4 games. But the segue to the last thing I want to talk about here, like super quickly, who plays the Bengals? Those guys are going to be priority targets for me. The Bengals defense is going to be absolutely Terrence Sharon shows up every so often to the streams, and he will. I have never heard him agree with something that I said. If I say I like Chris Rodriguez, he's definitely going to say don't draft Chris Rodriguez. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Who plays the Bengals? The Bengals are going to be the in my opinion, like if they're not the worst defense in the league, someone else is the absolute bottom has fallen out. We don't want to take it. This is not entirely about the preseason. I mentioned in this article that they could play like the 85 Bears in the preseason, and I would still think the defense is going to absolutely suck. But what I would call the Bengals is like the Coors Field of DFS. If you're familiar with baseball, certainly gambling or DFS or something from the baseball world, Coors Field, right? There's a lot more runs scored in Coors Field because of the elevation and all that kind of stuff. The Lions have kind of been the Coors Field. They were once upon a time. Then their defense got a lot better, and then the defense all got hurt, and they kind of became Coors Field again. The Bengals, with their combination of superstar, pass-heavy, high-powered offense, is like they're going to score, right? They're going to Burrow, Chase Brown, Mike Gesicki, whatever, Yoshi, Burton, Charlie Jones, whatever. They're going to score a lot of points. The defense is probably the worst in the league. If you watched any of the preseason, holy shit, they're playing their starters. Backups from other teams are coming in and just absolutely wrecking him. The aforementioned Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt had his 2 good runs against the Bengals starters. Then he played like shit against the Bengals backups when he was playing with like the 4th stringers or whatever for Washington. So if he's such a difference maker, I would like to see him make a little bit more of a difference. But also the aforementioned Chris Rodriguez ripped them up. They got shredded by the backups for the Washington Commanders. They got shredded by the backups for the Philadelphia Eagles. Trey Hendrickson is their one really, really good football player on the defensive side. He is still holding out. The latest report was he's not budging on anything. We're very close to the season, and he's not in camp. I just think the Bengals are kind of like a printing press for fantasy points, both on their side, but for opponents. And not just so, even if the defense is like a little bit better, we have these shootout potential games every single week with the Bengals. And, it makes logical sense. They had to pay Joe Burrow. They had to pay Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. They paid Mike Gesicki. They spent draft picks on Jermaine Burton and Eric All and Charlie Jones and Chase Brown and Tanner McLaughlin. And like they've spent draft picks, and you have to draft offensive linemen also. So their defense is just like, what are you going to do? Like, there's no way for them to build a really good defense. So just super quickly, here's the Bengals schedule. If you like this, agree with this, want to target some Bengals games and some Bengals game stacks, they go to Cleveland in week 1. So I mentioned Dylan Sampson before. The Daniel Jones thing. Anytime you think about drafting Daniel Jones, I'll just take Joe Flacco. How about that one? Hot take, I guess. Harold Fannin, David Njoku, Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman seems like a pretty good pick in this particular format. One that I don't love that much, but the Cleveland Browns, Jerome Ford. Somebody mentioned Jerome Ford. Also, I think pretty good picks. Week 2, they get to go back home against the Jaguars. You want to talk about a shootout? The Jaguars defense also doesn't look very good. Turns out Travis Hunter can't save the whole defense. That one looks juicy. We'll talk about the Jaguars a little bit more. Then they go to Minnesota. Pretty good for Minnesota, even though Minnesota plays Pittsburgh in the final. So maybe my least favorite of these 3 opponents for the Bengals. Although TJ Hawkinson should look pretty good for those first 3 weeks without Addison. Jalen Naylor is also hurt as well. And then tying it all together with the Devon Vele trade and with the fact that we love our Triple H running backs, and RJ Harvey is one of the Triple H running backs, I think that the Denver Broncos playing those Bengals at home in the Week 4 final. Is it RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins, Bo Nix Stacks, Evan Ingram, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant? The answer is yes. The answer to which Dolphins do we, or excuse me, Dolphins. The answer to which Broncos do we draft is yes. Draft the Broncos in this. Yeah, it's also, as KD says here, the Monday Night Hammer. It's the last game of the Week 4 slate. We can sweat out Broncos, Bengals on Monday Night Football for $15K on the Dog app. Let's see. Okalani, shout out Okalani, was building teams like this, like we're talking about here. Great minds think alike, hammering Denver, Jacksonville, Cleveland, and then Jefferson and Hawkinson with you. Totally with you. Just a couple, just while we're on the Week 4 games, some Week 4 fun games and maybe not so fun games. Let's do the not so fun. Let's do the bad news first, right? I always believe in, let's take the bad news first. The aforementioned Vikings. I think it's, look, I'm not saying to not draft Justin Jefferson. I kind of think TJ Hawkinson is like just a smidge better, and maybe the running backs a little bit better, Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones, just in terms of the opportunity cost there. But like, I'm not denying Justin Jefferson is a great pick, like 100% great pick. Maybe JJ McCarthy is not. Maybe I won't have any JJ McCarthy in this format because they do play. There's a lot of really good Week 4 games, actually, if you go look at the schedule. But the Vikings Steelers is kind of not one of the great ones. I don't really want to be targeting the Steelers, not just because I think their defense is going to be good, because Aaron Rodgers sucks the life out of every game from a pace perspective and all that kind of stuff. There's just, they run the clock down. They're going to run the football and try to play defense. So Steelers games are just not great game environments. And then while I like Titans and Texans, I like, with Joe Mixon, do you like Nick Chubb? Or I think this is a fine place to draft Nick Chubb. I prefer Dameon Pierce still, but nonetheless, right? Nico, whatever, those guys are good. Tony Pollard is a really good pick, but I would not be necessarily that enthused about my 5th round Tony Pollard teams or whatever having to play the Texans, go on the road to Houston and play the Texans, in my opinion, having one of the best defenses in the NFL. So just a couple of bad ones, but Saints Bills, hilariously, is at the top here. Let me move my dome out of the way. Saints Bills, not because it's like that game is going to be fun. The Bills should absolutely roll the Saints, but the Saints defense is also going to be very bad. So if the Bills are going to score a whole mess of points, we do have the Saints probably elevated passing volume and stuff. So Kamara, Shaheed, Olave, Vele now could look a little bit better. If the Panthers defense is as bad as it has been last year, looks pretty good for the Patriots in Week 4. That Travion guy, good at football. Eagles, Bucks, not necessarily bad defenses. Certainly not on the Eagles side from a defensive perspective. However, both of these teams we know can really score. And with the injuries that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have dealt with, we have like really condensed. So it is Saquon, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, kind of Dallas Goedert on the Eagles side. And on the Bucks, it is Mike Evans, Emeka Ibuka, Bucky Irving, and kind of Cade Otton, right? So those guys are all like awesome picks for a variety of reasons that kind of condense target share, the increased volume and opportunity in the first month of the season. And then, it's not like the best matchup, but the game environment should be decent there. Eagles, Bucks, Jags, Niners. And talked about the Jags get the 3 of the 4 games for the Jags are, hold on. The Jags play the Panthers, Bengals, and 49ers. The 49ers in the championship week. They do play the Texans. So we'll hopefully have to get lucky in that Texans week. But 49ers, Panthers, Bengals does not get much better than that trio of opponents in this format. So the Jaguars are a pretty big target for me. Ravens, Chiefs, again, 2 good defenses, but come on. Lamar, Mahomes, who wouldn't want to have that when he made it to the final? And then Packers, Cowboys. Cowboys, another defense I'm absolutely going to be picking on at the start of the season. Whether or not Micah Parsons signs, honestly, is irrelevant to me from targeting them. Obviously, if he's not there, even more wheels up. But of course, Josh Jacobs is more relevant in this format, but also the Packers like stacks. We know the Cowboys can score. I also have some concerns about the Cowboys secondary, particularly at corner, which is not a good thing when you're playing against CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And so this game could have some like sneaky shootout potential. Do you like Rashee Rice in this? Says Burgundy Bets. I do. Yes, I do like Rashee Rice in this tournament. He should be fine, right? This is like probably the best tournament for Rashee Rice that exists in all of best ball. Smells like a Jamar McBride team is going to take down Week 17 championships. Yeah, what the hell does that have to do with the Bengals stuff? Yeah, I'm like, what does that have to? Oh yeah, because the Bengals suck, and yes, you should draft more Trey McBride in your regular best. You can draft Trey McBride in this too, by the way. He's also an awesome pick in this, but yes. Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, James Conner, Trey Benson against the slappy Bengal defense. Sign me up for that. What if you need McCarthy to advance to the finals? I don't think there's really ever a quarterback that you need to advance to the finals. That can technically be wrong, of course. There can be a quarterback that just goes like 40 ball every single week. JJ McCarthy can have a nice start here, but like it's also like this is a semi-small concern for like Baker and Purdy, who I quite like, is like removing the wide receivers make it worse for the quarterback. It's better for like Pearsall and Abuka and stuff because they're going to get a higher percentage of the targets and they're going to play more snaps and all that kind of stuff. But it's not having Jalen McMillan and Chris Godwin is bad for Baker Mayfield. Not having Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings and whoever is bad for Brock Purdy, right? And so for JJ McCarthy, not having Jordan Addison and Jalen Naylor, I know that seems silly, but like Lucky Jackson, if anybody does, yes, that's a real person. He goes by Lucky. Lucky Jackson is currently the wide receiver 2 in week 1 for the Minnesota Vikings. Ty Felton running as the wide receiver 3, right? Technically the wide receiver 5 on the team, but wide receiver 3 for week 1. That's not great for JJ McCarthy. And so you kind of combine that with the final. That's kind of how I'm thinking about that one. Let's see. Cincinnati versus Minnesota week 3 is 1 out of 4 advance. Right. So, but that's not that you don't need JJ McCarthy in that, right? Like, okay, he scores 30. Is there even like, there's only 4 teams in your pod. The likelihood that McCarthy's even there on a team is low. And so he scores 30, your guy scores 24. You can't beat 3 teams, right? You still need a good game from your quarterback, but it's not the end of the world. So I'm not drafting anybody because of like one individual week 3 matchup. Like there's other week 3 matchups that are also going to be good. And the quarterback points just, who's to say in that Bengals spot, it is an Aaron Jones or Jordan Mason. So if you want to draft those guys, I think that makes sense. Or right? Just take Hawkinson. You can get exposure to that Vikings Bengals situation. And I think Hawk can be fine against the Steelers, but you're not needing an absolutely nuclear week from him at the tight end position, quite like you would need at the other positions. Yeah, I think was this you or somebody else in the Discord, I think, saying that they think sneaky Thielen gets traded to the Vikings talk. It's interesting. I can dig it. That's hilarious. All right. Enough of that. Let's do some drafting, huh? Let's do some drafting. Where's the first quarter here? Need 3. I forgot to upload my rankings. I should have done that. I do have a lot of, you see here, look at this, 50% Jamar Chase in the first quarter. Shout out to me. Of course, the Draft Hacker and Draft IQ and everything do support this. I mentioned the rankings on the site, blah, blah, blah. Just while we're waiting here to get in the first round, if you're watching this and you could please quickly, while we wait on the first round to start, click the thumbs up button on this video. It'd be greatly appreciated. You guys have been crushing it with the thumbs up and the and the comments and everything. Of course, if you comment on the video, you'll get entered to win a free ticket into the Drafters main event tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll recap the week, and every single week I keep thinking like, okay, there won't be quite as much news this week. I'm like, it can't. I'm like, we just talked about the preseason on Tuesday. We like every Tuesday I do a preseason recap, and every Friday I do like a training camp recap of the week. You would think that in 3 days there wouldn't be like cataclysmic fucking news every single week. And every single week, it's like between Tuesday and Friday, we can't make it 3 days without like the world burning in our fantasy football little bubble. It's insane. So tomorrow we'll break down the week that was in training camp, right? The Daniel Jones, Joe Flacco, Chris Godwin, Devon Vele. We can talk more about Bill and Chris Rodriguez and Brian Robinson. Who knows what happens with Brian Robinson between now and then? Like, we'll break it all down tomorrow. And at the end of the news show, of course, we'll draft some teams. At the end of the news show, I'll give away 3 free tickets to the Drafters main event as well. I will make sure these get out ASAP. Right next to Versailles at the 106. We'll be duking it out here. Super John in here. If there's anybody else watching in this, I recognize obviously Super John and Versailles, but if there's anybody else, pop on in, say hi. Oh, shout out. See, Berg's on the thing. Berg is our resident Minnesota expert. So if Berg is on the Thielen thing, I am on the Thielen thing. Of course, CMC goes 105. I just said don't take JJ. Let's do BTJ. Pulling up BTJ. Obviously, I just talked about the Jaguars being priority targets for me here. So let's stick to our guns and do some Jaguars stuff. Am I missing something? Jalen Hurts just fell to 53. I don't know. Hurts just falls sometimes. I don't have any strong like takes on it. It's bizarre. Every once in a while you'll get Hurts in the 50s, and it doesn't really make any sense. Like just if the board plays out in such a way that AJ Brown and if the AJ Brown or Devontae guy pass, it's more likely to fall. Or if the AJ Brown Devontae guy are just like not around that turn, he can loop around the 4 or 5 turn on into the fifth round. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen sometimes. It's a weird quirk of the guy having very few stacking partners and then both going right. And him and Devontae go in this similar range. So like, is Devontae still on the board? It's a weird. The Eagles stacks are just a little bit weird. I thought I had it all figured out, and then Sky Moore got traded. Like Sky Moore just got traded. It probably doesn't matter, but I don't know. Who knows? Bizarre. Is the preloaded ADP the same as the regular season? ADP won't change if it closes today. That's correct. It was the preloaded regular season ADP. See here who. Damn it. Let's do Jacobs. Mentioned this is the tournament for these kind of guys. If we're going to do it, you got to do it. Packers, Cowboys. Cowboys are like if the Bengals are the Coors Field, what are the Cowboys? Because they're close. It ain't quite the Sacramento, right, where the A's play. They're Sacramento, which is a hitting hotbed for anybody that's this is way too niche. This is far too niche of a reference. We need a better reference in this. But you know what I mean? It is it's another high scoring environment. The Cowboys defense is going to suck, and they have like their own version of Burrow, Chase, T. They don't have a Chase Brown, but they have their own version of like the Bengals with Dak, CD, Pickens, and a bad defense behind them. So I'm watching a few minutes behind, but surprised you didn't have Atlanta, Washington as week 4 games to target. How do you feel about that one? I do like, I like that one. It's like, how would I describe that game? I need to go back and double check. The Falcons left tackle got hurt yesterday, carted off, I believe. I have not had a chance to. That's what my Thursdays are for, is getting caught up on all the news for tomorrow's show. But I need to go back and double check that. And then Mooney, the Mooney situation. But I very much like Drake London, Bijan, Jaden Daniels, Debo. But it's just kind of one of those weird ones where what's up with Terry? What's up, frankly, with the B-Rob stuff? What's up with Darnell Mooney? I still don't really like Kyle Pitts. It's a interesting one. It's a good game, though. It's a good game. Yeah. Are we worried about the Tampa Bay offensive start with Wirfs out? Yes. Tristan Wirfs, one of the best left tackles in football. Yes. I am definitely worried. Aren't you worried? Big time. Cade Otton feels like he should be a top 12 tight end in this. I can't remember exactly where I have Cade Otton. I should have uploaded my rankings onto here, but I very much like Cade Otton. I'm gonna go ahead and take Trey McBride though, guys. Versaire gets Bowers at 30, and I'll take Trey McBride at 31. Deal. Handshake. There you go. The Cowboys are the Texas Rangers' old baseball stadium. I like it. Brandon says Lamb or Gibbs, full PPR, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Christ. CD. But it's my 2 and 3. Like, I have to stick to how I have them ranked, and that is CD number 2 and Gibbs number 3 in my rankings. But like, if you wanted to say Gibbs, they're right next to each other. Josh says if you switch your playoff view for this contest, I'm assuming it shows you it's yeah. I should have prepared this. I totally apologize, but hold on. There's a So see here, if you go to playoff view and you go to week 4, you'll start to see the correlations. See how I'm updating here in the middle, and then here you go. Yeah, see, so you can go with the draft deck or say show weeks to show. So let's do that. Let's do week 1. Let's skip week 2. How about that? All right, it doesn't matter. We'll do week 3. So I'm gonna okay. So there's now we update the weeks that are showing our correlation there. Ken Walker is also a little bit better in this format, I think, though I would like to take Jalen Hurts. Give me my elite quarterback. Give me my elite tight end. Sign me up for that in this format. Yeah, thank you, Josh. It's not one I use. That's not one of the. There's so many features. Like if you have the draft hacker and you check this drop down, there's like you can show the draft capital, remaining week 17. Right, so this is obviously week 17. But like for the Best Ball Mania and such, you can see you're like, okay, I need to stack this week 17 game. How to show me who's left, right, that hasn't been drafted yet. Game stacks by week, right? There's just there's so many features here, and I don't use them all the time. So sometimes I need a refresher of my own tools here. I need a refresher of my own tool. Don't tell my wife that. Anyway, I mostly love team view, playoff view, etc. But the correlation aspect is very good for this. Let's see here. So I have week 2, 3, 4 on here is what I'm showing, right? Yeah, 2, 3, 4. I think. Week 1 schedule. Yeah. Okay, so this is weeks 2, 3, 4. Let's Let's do. There we go. Okay, so week 2 is no longer showing, but if you look here, you'll see the weeks 1, 3, and 4. It should be the weeks 1, 3, 4 matchups for these teams because, like I said, I think those are the ones we care about the most. In week 2, we'll just deal with it, right? It's 2 out of 5 in that week. We'll suck it up and deal with it. Big question. ETN or Tank? Asked Charles. For me, it is Tank Bigsby. So now they did this differently in each of the 2 preseason games. So I don't think it's decided. Although I don't think they're playing the starters in the 3rd preseason game. I can't remember for Jacksonville. My expectation is that Tank Bigsby is the lead early down runner on this offense. Travis Etienne is the change of pace and passing down back. It's probably like a 50-50 split with that in terms of like snaps and touches. But I think, you get to the goal line, you get to the money zone, you want touchdowns from your Jaguars running back. I think that is hold on, just double checking some ADPs here. We're going to get old RJ Harvey onto this team. Notably, Broncos, Bengals, week 4. But I think Tank Bigsby in half PPR, I think he's going to be the early down runner, probably goal line back. But we'll see if they do anything, if they show us anything over the course of the next couple of weeks. Is there an ADP, great question, that you would take Jordan Addison in this format? Maybe in the last round. Maybe. It's just like he plays the Steelers. And if they played like the Bengals in week 4, I think my answer would be different. But he plays the Steelers in week 4. That will be his first game back. I know I'm obviously not going to get anything for 3 weeks. I kept him in the top 250, but he's way at the back. He's way at the back. These drafts take so much longer. So many people don't know what to do and take the whole clock. Yeah, it's a lot more difficult. Another reason why even people who are drafting round the clock like me need something like these tools to help me. Debo, I have ranked highest here. I understand the Jaguars thing. I understand, Travis Hunter, but with the Terry stuff, I think Debo is pretty fascinating. The week 1 matchup with the Giants is actually think the Giants defense is going to be quite good, particularly the pass rush. But I just think from a weeks 1 to 4 perspective with Terry stuff going on, Noah Brown still out. Who knows what the fuck is going on with Noah Brown? They haven't told us for months, literally. So I think Debo makes for a pretty good pick. Charles agrees. Mackay says, should Drake London be pulled up in this format? I do like Drake London in this format for sure. But the difficulty is like all of those early round guys are still pretty awesome. There's not that many of the top. I have a like fairly clear like top 19, which sounds weird, but it's once like Ladd goes off whether it's Ladd or McBride or about whoever goes, JT like that. There's a top 19 now. JT, I speaking of pulling guys up, I pulled JT up in this format as well. Really nice week 1 matchup with the Dolphins for Jonathan Taylor. That's the problem with Drake London is I think he's awesome in this format, like awesome, but like so are some of these other guys. So yes and no, I guess, total cop out answer, but it's the truth. Everybody is really bleak. Thank God it's 20-second clocks. does make me feel very uncomfortable with being forced to take all these goddamn running backs in this format. It sucks. I was really hoping for Devontae Smith on this team, but you know, Dallas Goedert will have to be the answer, I guess. For Sayre, of course, takes Olave. I'll do Mason. There's my Viking. So I conceded to Charles about the Vikings. Jordan Mason is going to get me through that week 3 game. He's going to score 6 touchdowns against the Cincinnati Bengals. Given the smaller slate, ownership is likely going to be pretty condensed in the finals, maybe optimizing for week 3. That's really funny that you bring that up, as I just drafted someone that optimizes for week 3 in Jordan Mason. But I got no real pushback on that. The counterpoint would be all of the money is in week 4. And I think we can still find ways to build teams that don't get quite as much overlap, but I agree with you. It's going to be something that we're going to have to try to counteract. It's just easier said than done. Even optimizing for week 3, you can end up with and I'm not saying that you were saying you wouldn't end up with a lot of overlapping guys by optimizing for week 3. You're saying that we're going to have a bunch of overlap guys anyway, so let's get ourselves there by building around week 3. But I still like 374 teams in the final versus a 1 out of 4 week 3 scenario. It's like let's try to find ways to differentiate a little bit if we can. Like pull some guys up. You can track using Draft IQ. You can track your opponent's combinations. We can project them as well. We have projected ownership on the site if you would like to look at that. But if you have Spike Week subscription, you of course send your teams over to the Draft Hacker and Draft IQ. You can go in and look at your opponent, draft board and see who's being drafted together. And so that should just naturally create a little bit more differentiation. But there's going to be guys that you like had to have in this tournament. And so that just unfortunately is what it is. I really should pay attention a lot more, though. I've actually got quite a few of wide receiver flyers that I'm into. So we're going to have some fun ripping some wide receiver flyers in this one. Mad Sox says that, yeah, welcome to the old. You had this experience that I had it when they launched it of like, oh, I just assume this is cumulative scoring, right? And Swish says, nope, it's a playoff format. Oh man, oh man, yep. Week 1, you got to finish 2 of 12. Week 2, you got to finish 2 of 5. Week 3, you have to finish 1 of 4, and then there is a 374 team final in week 4. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty batshit crazy, but it's pretty awesome. Funny that the strategy of this contest shows why 0 hero RB is best for a week 17 contest. In this, you need week 1 brain. Yeah, exactly. This contest is like anti-chaos. We're playing for like no chaos in this format, and then we're playing for ultimate chaos in the other format. So they have very running backs work in the opposite directions in that regard. Yeah, I'm terrified that this is what's going to happen to me, Rick. To hop into a whole bunch of slows, and then the clocks are going to go down to 4 hours, and I'm going to be miserable. Clocks for college football are going to go down to an hour. Did they already go to an hour? I hope not while I'm on this show here, because we've already been on the show for an hour. Okay, no. College football clocks are going down to an hour today, I think. So that would have sucked. Yep, I totally agree. I'm obviously not practicing what I preach, but a tip. Put rankings in there, which of course I did not do either. put rankings in there and build out your queue in this, because there's a lot of guys, as Burgundy mentioned, as we have mentioned, do not, just should not be drafted. So no sense in risking it like I'm doing on this draft. This Bill price is crazy. Let's do. I'm gonna do Shaheed though. I don't love Bill as much in this format. I understand like all the hype and stuff. I don't think he's gonna be like some early season workhorse. I think after pick 100, that's okay, right? He just goes to pick 105. I think that's okay, but I think the bet for him is, of course, some form of early season role. But like he's going to be in some kind of committee. You're kind of hoping he like wins out over the course of the season. But in this, like if he's in a committee for the first month, which is like kind of the expectation, or it should be everyone's expectation. Maybe that's not everyone's expectation, but I think it should be. That, you know, I don't know that he's all that valuable in this. Rashee Rice wild card. Yeah, I wouldn't quite call him a wild card. I would call him like a top 25 pick or something, top 30. But agree, this is the format for Rashee. Thank you, Jim. This is what I need you guys for. Keep me sane and keep me on track. Let's see if this works. I don't think it's going to, but we're. Yay. Broncos wide receivers. Go Broncos. Is it good now to take both Seattle backs? Is it good to take both Seattle backs, or can you take are two different things? I wouldn't classify it as good to take both Seattle backs. Michael says they've relied on Walker when healthy. I full bias. I do like sort of believe they're going to give Sharps some more touches this year. I do sort of believe that. But to what end does that like what does that really mean? It's unclear to me. And so I don't know that I would want to take them together on the same team at that cost. I guess I shouldn't say that, because I will take, and I haven't done it much lately, but I would and have taken RJ Harvey with J.K. Dobbins on the same teams. And so I shouldn't necessarily say like I don't like the Ken Walker price is getting to the point where it's not that dissimilar from Harvey, and the Sharps price is not that dissimilar from Dobbins. So maybe it's a little more viable than I think, though. I think from a archetype perspective and like a role perspective, it's pretty different. Like the Sharps bet is kind of that he takes away from Ken Walker, whereas our going in assumption with RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins is kind of that they work in tandem, and J.K. Dobbins passes the baton over the course of the season to Harvey, as opposed to them just like eating each other's lunches. Seattle game environments are going to be kind of gross, says Swish. Yeah, I think that I've mentioned this before. I got some more sports betting videos coming out, and I'm going to put the futures bets that I've placed so far this year. And I bet the Seahawks to win that division at plus 550. It's one of my favorite bets. I think that they're going to be kind of like, the defense is good. Okay, shit. See, this is where. Oh, shit. No, let's do Tillman. Of course, Versailles took Sampson. But that's okay. I gotta find running back room. Jacobs, Harvey, Mason, Sharbs. I'm assuredly going to take at least another tight end. There's one in particular, of course, I would like. I'll probably stick this to Jalen Hurts at quarterback. If it's not just Jalen Hurts at quarterback, it'll be, a late guy, later option. We'll make this 12th round pick and get a quick update on the team. Swish says the Seahawks defense is going to be stifling Seattle Seahawks and the 12th man. I think I did not do the math, but I thought that's what it was. Min cash is awarded if you advance out of round 1. And you just get your money back. So that's another reason to really care about even if you advance, right, which you only have a 17% chance to advance. And then once that 17% chance hits, congratulations, they handed you back your $5 bill. They held your $5 bill for 2 weeks and they handed it back to you. And now you got to go do the damn thing again, and in order to make some money. If you make the final, you get $50, which is nice. Profited $45 on your $5 investment, but it ain't. You got to finish a lot higher than that, right? It's a $250 thing to max. If you were lucky enough to make one team to the final, you still got to finish pretty high to profit. So we should definitely be caring about the final a lot. Did someone really take Goddard? What the fuck, man? What's wrong with you? All right, let's do Strange. Brenton Strange. Add on to my Jaguars stuff, which is really just BTJ. Little BTJ Brenton Strange stack. Tracy and the Falling Scataboo is one that Drew has been doing. First Air says, I had Braylon queued up, but I knew you wouldn't let me have Samson. You're goddamn right about that. So I had to take Samson. If anyone is my guy this year, it is Samson. Dude. Kyle, I'm pretty sure you've been here every day this week and you've asked this question. And every single time we've told you in your keeper league between Josh Allen and Derrick Henry that you should fucking keep Josh Allen. I've said it. The chat has said it. I believe you were here on Monday night. Rob said it on Monday night. Just goddamn keep Josh Allen. Quit asking. Let me pull the Nick Saban quote on you. So quit asking. Just looking for feedback. You've gotten the feedback. We gave it to you. We answered that question 100 times. Oh shit! I'm on the clock. God damn it, Kyle! You almost made me draft Luther Burden, and now I'm not prepared. I'm just taking Tyler Algier because I'm not prepared. Way to go, Kyle! Just kidding. Shout out to Kyle. He's keeping this. Dude, anybody that hangs out and watches all the streams, sign me up. The chat is killing me. Swish said something, I think. Oh, here we go. Weeks 1 and 4, the most important weeks. Don't the Broncos and Browns duo stack seem good? Plus, they have fair matchups in week 2 and week 3 as far in game. Yeah, absolutely. I'm completely in on the Broncos and Browns, 100%. See, this is where I'm going to take Well, we'll see. We'll see. I should shut up. This is where, like, I'm going to take only Jalen Hurts at quarterback, but I'm not going to really fret. Damn, Kate Otten. I was going to say Kate Otten is kind of a smash right here. Let's go get Pat Bryant. After the Devon Vele trade, much more appealing for Pat Bryant. We're loading up on our Denver Broncos here. Don't have to have Bo Nix to go get you some Denver Broncos. The Broncos schedule, for those wondering, over the course of the this weeks 1 to 4. Tennessee, it's a pretty darn good schedule. It's not like, maybe not quite the Jaguars schedule, but Tennessee, I think, is a plus spot for the Denver offense. The Colts at Indy, so in the Dome in week 2, cool with that. At the Chargers, it's just, so that's like neutral. You know, Chargers defense is not anything. It's not the best in the league. It's certainly not the worst. But then at the Chargers in week 3, and then of course at home against the Bengals in Denver in week 4. So I think the Broncos, are one of those priority targets as well. Apologies if I missed it earlier. What was the commentary on Addison? He's like maybe draftable in the last round. Maybe. I would not. I just wouldn't. I just don't see the up. Like, congratulations, you got one game of Jordan Addison against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just don't really see the ups. Like, you can probably do worse, right? The whole like you could do worse as an argument is like never really an argument, but it's true. You could technically do worse. That's really funny. How high should Travis Hunter go in a home league where you can play him in an IDP slot, basically rostering extra? Exceptionally high. Exceptionally high, for sure. Actually, shit. Let's go get my guy Chris Rodriguez. I'm pretty interested in betting on Chris Rodriguez in this specific tournament. I understand the Bill bet, of course, but if Rodriguez is the starter as he was in the last preseason game and B-Rob is out of here, you can give me the actual Washington starter as an early down back for the first couple of weeks. That seems like if you're not a believer, that's completely understandable in like the Chris Rodriguez stuff. However, if there was a tournament where even non-believer, right? I'm not a believer in Josh Jacobs, and I drafted him in this tournament. He seems like a pretty good pick. If B-Rob is gone, which B-Rob is excused from practices at the moment by Washington. I'm not falling for that, Dial. I'm also not falling for it because you misspelled my name. Mad sucks. See, I don't agree with avoid Tampa. I can get down. I mean, I don't draft Steelers ever anyway, but I can definitely get down with the Dolphins fade. I can't get down with it. Like, the Eagles defense is very good, but Mike Evans and Emeka Buka and Kate Otten and stuff can score fantasy points against them. You know what? Let's do Shipley. Let's have fun. Saquon's going to miss a game in the first month on this team, for this team. Now I need a couple of wide receivers, though, I think. I forgot to do this, so I apologize for the audio listeners. Brian Thomas, Josh Jacobs, Trey McBride, Jalen Hurts. So we went with the old rainbow start 1 wide receiver, 1 running back, 1 tight end, and 1 quarterback. RJ Harvey is a priority for me in this format. I also like J.K. Dobbins. Deebo Samuel in the 6th, of course, looking better with the Terry McLaurin stuff. Jordan Mason, Zach Charbonnet, Rashid Shaheed, Marvin Mims. Obviously, the Devon Vele trade and the Broncos. Like, the Broncos are just such an awesome target in this format. Cedric Tillman, we talked about the Browns stuff. Brenton Strange, we talked about the Jaguars as targets in this. And that, Tyler Algier, because Kyle was fucking around in the chat about his goddamn Derrick Henry question. Pat Bryant, Chris Rodriguez, and Will Shipley. Yeah, I'm almost certain that we all know that your Daily Dilly, it's supposed to be Dilly, but we call it Dial because I think we had this conversation, like, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or something. It's been so long that we've all been internet friends, but nonetheless, should I just, is he gone? Yeah, okay. What about, I'm going to put Fannin in the queue. See, this is where you need to get your rankings and stuff in there. And I need to, this is where I'm like, I know I have Trey McBride, but sometimes these flex plays, like I'm completely comfortable taking someone like a Harold Fannin, taking 3 tight ends, even though I have Trey McBride, because you get to these late rounds, man, and like is Malik Washington really a better click in half PPR? Like, I don't think so. This is when I really do need to do a better job of putting the queue together. Sky Moore already has an ADP, and maybe he should, but I don't know that the weeks 1 to 4 contest is the place for the Sky Moore bet. Maybe that's more of a playoff format bet. I do have a specific target here. Obviously, Keaton Mitchell isn't a secret, but when Harbaugh was asked about his hamstring, he said he would be available for the opener. Sounds like a sneaky week 1 role indicator. You ain't gotta convince me on Keaton, brother. We are all the way in. I'm in. Fully in on the Keaton Mitchell hype train. We'll do one more draft after this. So for anybody, I'm about to make my 18th round selection, and we'll pop on over to another first quarter draft. I can't believe it's not a dog name. What would be the appropriate dog name for this format? I'm actually gonna take Devon Vele. I think he's gonna be, like, I talked about the Saints. I'm not like excited about the Saints, but I do have Shaheed on here. So again, I do think something we haven't talked about is like those secondary correlations, right? Draft, like, you don't have to have the quarterback. I'm just using Jalen Hurts' score, okay? He's going to rush for a touchdown in every week of the first month. And then, like, using secondary correlations, right? Drafting multiple Broncos, drafting multiple Cleveland Browns, drafting multiple New Orleans Saints, what have you. The Saints, they're going to be losing a lot. They're not very good. Their defense is not very good. So I can benefit from that with their receivers. I mentioned earlier that I think the Bills matchup is actually rather appealing for them in week 4. Like, it's not the defense is not like the target. We don't want to be like necessarily targeting the Bills defense, but at home against Arizona, at home against San Francisco, those are totally fine. Week 3, we talked about, whatever, we'll deal with it. And that's at Seattle, which is not awesome, but they're going to be losing in like all of these games. So you can sign me up for some of their pass catchers. And I think Vele, dude, did you see what they gave up for Devon Vele? Holy shit, man. Like, they value this dude, and he's been popping off at At Broncos camp, every time you like saw Benjamin Albright or someone talk about Broncos, it's like, it's Vele season. It's Vele season. It's Vele season. So I don't know. They like him. The 102 in this draft. Let's see what we want to do here. What's the Lions' first four? Green Bay, Chicago, Baltimore, Cleveland. Woof. Maybe speaking of like getting a little bit different, maybe I'll pull CMC all the way up here. Obviously, if the 101 doesn't take Jamar Chase, I'll take that. I could do CD. Do you think Underdog has any more deposit bonuses coming before the season? That is a great question that I do not know the answer to. Maybe. Would be nice. You know what? Let's have some fun. If you write an article and you talk about how Christian McCaffrey is a better pick here, and this is a great place to do some of this stuff with guys that you're not drafting a bunch of, like I am not drafting a bunch of Christian McCaffrey, let's do it. Let's let her rip. That's great. Finally feels good to click Jerry Jeudy. See, there's another name that is a much better click here for sure. Or the Eagles are up by 40 points, all via tush push, and Shipley gets 2 garbage time touchdowns. Now we are speaking my language. How much are you buying the Njoku trade rumors? I would say I'm buying. I would say I don't actually think he's going to get traded, and certainly not like in the first month of the season, I don't think. Is it possible, though? Yeah. Do I think David Njoku is on the Cleveland Browns in 2026? I do not. So do they trade him now and just say, we love this Harold Fanning guy? I don't think so. Is that possible? Yeah. Is it possible he gets traded in season? David Njoku does? Yeah, I think so. So I'm buying. I mean, because how I would classify it is I'm buying the fact that David Njoku is not on the Browns next year. And if I'm buying that, then I think you have to be buying the trade rumors. That doesn't mean you're saying like you would bet that he gets traded, but you can believe that the rumors are like, it's possible. It's possible. That's kind of my take. Did we talk about Godwin off the pup? No, we haven't talked about Godwin off the pup just because I still don't really want him in this format. It sounds like more of like if I had to pinpoint, it would be like a week 3 or 4 return, because they made sure to say like this doesn't mean he's playing week 1 and he's actually probably not going to play week 1. It sounded like he'll start. What did they say? Start practicing in week 2. So this is like the ramp up period. You activate him so you can start ramping him up. He'll get back to limited practices in week 2, full practice in week 3, and play. But I think they're still playing the long game with him. Generally speaking, I think this is really positive news for like Godwin. Like BBM shares or what. Like this is very positive news. He's not starting on the pup. Like that's great. Shout out to the poor Bucks beat writer who would have been shocked if Chris Godwin didn't start the season on the pup. I bet he is shocked at this current moment in time. I just want Trey McBride on like all my fantasy teams, guys. So I'm taking him again. I apologize that you get bored of me drafting Trey McBride most likely, but you know what? Tough shit. We're playing the hits. It's GYG season. We're making it a thing. It's like fetch. GYG. Get your guys. Allen, Lamar, Hampton, Evans. I don't have Evans yet. We're doing Mike Evans. I don't have Evans in this format. CMC, Trey McBride, Mike Evans to start feels pretty good for a weeks 1 to 4 contest. Rick says I'm in rare form. I don't know if that is true, but if it is, I'm working on a lack of sleep. I mentioned this yesterday on the show. One of the puppos has been a little bit sick, and so he's doing fine, but he's been a little bit just still returning to form, and so he woke us up nice and early this morning. So we definitely didn't get the full 8 hours last night. As you can see, I'm working on some caffeine this morning. Didn't Bulls specifically say October for a return? I need to go read their. So I'll definitely talk about it tomorrow on the show tomorrow. I don't want to dive all the way into the Godwin thing at this exact moment because I haven't had time to fully digest it. But my quick take was week 3 or 4 or something like that. He'll be back. I heard losing. Are we talking about my Cardinals again? Not yet. I'm kind of down for the Cardinals. Those Cardinals, not my St. I'm very sick of watching my St. Louis Cardinals lose, but I'm down to watch the Arizona Cardinals lose if it means they throw a bunch of passes to Trey McBride. I don't know about Vele jumping Cooks in 2 weeks. I don't think Brandon Cooks is the thing. Brandon Cooks wasn't starting. He has to jump Cedric Wilson. So the starting wide receivers in 3 wide receiver sets for the New Orleans Saints is Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and then Cedric Wilson comes in and plays in the slot. I assume they traded for Devon Vele because he is a slot receiver that they highly value, and he can come in and run routes when they're losing by 30 in a couple weeks and be better than Cedric Wilson. Though I totally understand your general perspective. I love this is. We'll do little Georgie P. CMC, Trey McBride, Mike Evans, George Pickens. Do I have my combo? Does this? Shit. Okay, I know. Let's do JMO. I've done kind of the same builds on all of these different teams. I do really, really like Pearsall and Ibuka, and I don't have them yet. It's unclear how much I like Pearsall on the CMC teams. I kind of want CMC to just take the full boat, One. What did we say? We want week 1, week 3, and week 4. That's what we're trying to show in our correlations here. I just want to make sure I get my act together. So now we've got the week 1, week 3, and week 4 opponents. And of course, you guys can't see it, but if you hover over any of this stuff, it shows you what it means, right? So if I hover over my last percentage point, it tells you what that number means. If you show a bunch of percentages and a bunch of games like I do on the Draft Hacker here, if you have it, you can just hover over that data point and it will tell you what it's showing. Will the Vele trade affect my Rattler Bub? Well, unfortunately, it will not affect your Bub mean stacks because he is on injured reserve. RIP. Yeah, I think this was really notable. If it was just Devon Vele is a Saint now, like a New Orleans Saint. He's maybe a Saint in real life. I don't know. We'll have to look up, see if Devon Vele is a good guy. But a New Orleans Saint, he is. They traded a 4th round pick to get this guy. That's insanity. Like, I'm not sure what Washington could get for Terry McLaurin. Like a second, a third, maybe a third that can become a second because he's 30. Devon Vele is like 27, and like he's fine. A 4th round pick for Devon Vele is ridiculous. Just a thievery by the Denver Broncos. So if you value him enough to give up a 4th round pick, one would think, right? That's how I'm just using I'm taking some logical steps down the path here. One would think that means that they really like him. Who knows? Dang, Tyrone Tracy goes. Let's do Aaron Jones on this one. We did Jordan Mason on the other. I kind of am feeling that I'm liking these Vikings running backs here. Oh, yeah, Wirfs. Yeah, they're also Tristan Wirfs. We need Tristan Wirfs back for sure. Uh-oh. Jalen Wright just got injured, says Mad Sox. The Ollie Gordon hype is going to get out of control. Yeah. He might have just taken that job anyway, but woof. I'm going to do Baker here. Baker Evans, lead us to the promised land. So on this team, I am going to take more than one quarterback on this team. Just a personal preference. I don't have as much conviction in old Baker Mayfield having 4 straight games as I do in Jalen Hurts having 4 straight games and what it means for my roster. I'm obviously going to need, Aaron Jones is my RB2. So to survive the first couple of weeks, I'm probably going to need some extra running back juice. So figuring out our kind of positional allocation here will be an interesting one. I'm surprised Rasheed. See, I keep freaking. This is why you need to set rankings. Rasheed going in the 4th round is bad. I took Evans over him. I probably should not have done that. It's a new format. We're all learning. I definitely ain't drafting perfect teams. And I agree. I have, this is why, like I said, this is why I need to put my rankings in. I need to upload them onto Underdog because I have Rasheed ranked closer to the 2-3 turn. 25th or something like that. So we got to lock in. An injury certainly doesn't help Jalen Wright since he has also just looked bad. 100%. I refreshed thinking I'd be able to leave a comment after the stream was an hour and a half long, but no, still going strong. Yeah, we end up generally going about 2 hours. In season, I don't think we'll be going 2 hours every morning. I hope not, but I don't know. We'll find out. But leading up to, we just got a lot of drafts. We got a lot of drafts to do and not a lot of time. Pretty Ricky says B-Rob will get traded to Miami. Shout out Pretty Ricky. Yeah, here we go. B-Rob to the Dolphins. See? For best ball just got Rice in the 4th. Just love the fortitude of the Spike Week content providers. Okay. Don't hate the Dak idea here. Kyler gone. I gotta do a better job of putting a queue together. At least until I stop being a moron upload my rankings. Let's do Sharbs. Wide receiver is pretty dead here. So I feel a lot better about moving on over to some running backs or a second quarterback. Running back isn't exactly all that much better. But let's do Dak, huh? Let's just do Dak. Lock down Dak. Now we're pretty freed up away from quarterback. Baker, Evans, Dak, Pickens. I'm cool with that. CMC obviously locked in at RB1. Aaron Jones, Sharbs. We'll see. Got to keep building out the running back room for sure. When the season starts, do you check out of your best ball portfolio for a while, or do you like to check in early season? I'm a sicko, and I just can't fathom spending all this time. Right. Like, obviously, I'm spending time like talking to my computer screen and you guys talking into this camera. But like, even if I was like, not creating content, not watching other people's streams or whatever, my brain can't fathom getting into the season and like completely separating yourself from what you just spent hundreds of hours doing and thousands of dollars drafting, like even hundreds of dollars. Like, I do this not just for the money. Of course, money is ultimately the root of all evil and the root of all best ball sickness. But it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy the sweat of, right? Like, if Will Shipley scores a touchdown in week 1, you don't think I'm gonna like go scroll through all my 10,000 Will Shipley teams? Like, fuck yeah, that's fun as hell. So I don't totally separate because my brain doesn't allow me to totally separate. But I do, from a like functional perspective, the blocking and tackling that I'm doing, I play a ton of DFS. I don't play a ton of redraft leagues, but I play a ton of DFS, and we will be talking about that. I think I'm going to keep the same Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to keep rolling with that schedule. We'll see about the Tuesday. We'll see. I haven't decided yet because anyway, the content schedule is coming. But we'll be talking DFS. I do a ton of betting, right? I bet sports. I bet the NFL, but also other sports and props and pick 'em. We're going to be doing a lot more Survivor stuff around here. So there's the typical in-season stuff that everybody else is doing definitely takes over the majority of my thought. But I still can't help but stare down the barrel at all of my exposures once the season gets here. God damn it, I did not prepare again. Ferg works. Let's see if what is this? West Coast is the best coast. Is this username? That's pretty phenomenal. West Coast is the best coast. Come on. Okay, Dylan Sampson to the podium. Slam dunk honestly in all formats of best ball right now. In all formats of fantasy. Get you some Dylan Sampson in your life. But I really like him in this format. Let's see. I do this to get hurt every week for 17 weeks. That's Chris. Maximize my investment. Just spend hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars to fucking hate yourself every Sunday afternoon, right? The Sunday afternoon games are winding down. It did not go your way. Saquon ripped off another 75-yard touchdown, and you're just pissed. You lost money in DFS. You're trying to find any good BBM team that you have, right? Please, God, did my eliminator teams survive and move on? Give me something to be happy about. That's the typical, Sunday at 6 p.m. or whatever. The mindset of a best ball bro, I think, is on in season. That's the perspective. As Beast Burf says, people that don't check their portfolios are like it's like that's serial killer shit, dude. How can you just like separate, right? It's like that's what serial killer does. They separate the bad act, from it's like they can't combine like the goodness part of it, because even the psychopaths, right, have some form of goodness in there because they don't just go around murdering people at all times. They hide it and they try to stay away, so like how can you separate those things? You talked all summer for months, hours and hours and hours. It consumed your entire brain. For the only time of year when it's nice outside, it consumed your entire brain. You sat at a computer and talked about the target share for fucking Devon Vele or whatever. Like, how can you then just like be like, okay, well, whatever happens, happens. I'll see you in 4 months. Like, that's nuts. That's wild, man. You're going to be drafting the weeks 5 to 9 contest. You bet your ass. Henny says you're going to be. That's what when the season gets here, you're going to be drafting the weeks 5 to 9 tournaments. 100% I am. This format rocks, man. It's awesome. I'm very excited. Saquon immediately let us sickos know we were in for a bad time last year. That's 100%. Shout out Rick with a good plug. I agree. It's scary how much you know about serial killers. That's true. I definitely watch every true crime documentary of all time. It's one of my, what do you do when you're not like creating content or drafting teams or focusing on best ball and stuff? It's like, well, that. Damn, Tillman went. Tillman gone. Okay. We've lost pretty much all of my early season favorite targets out of the pool. So once we reach a certain point, I've found it to be somewhere 12, 13, 14 round, like just straight GYG. Go get your guys. Don't sweat it. I didn't get Troy Franklin on that last team. I'm honestly kind of trying to lock down the Bryant Franklin thing. Also Mims, Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin are definitely going to be 3 of my highest owned guys in this, right? We have this amazing setup for the Broncos overall. We have the Bengals I almost said week 17. We have the Bengals in week 4 of the finals, and then they lose Vele to really free up some snaps. I don't know how it's going to go, but I feel really good about Sutton is still Sutton. He's fine. But Evan Ingram as well. He's another guy that I don't take much of in like Best Ball Mania, DK Millie, and all that kind of stuff. But I think Evan Ingram after the trade and in this format is also quite good. So just like the Broncos, man. Just like draft the Broncos. Fucking Bernie, our resident serial killer in Spike Week, doesn't check his exposures. Insane. When do clocks switch over to 4 hours on Underdog? So I think I'm going to have 8 cups of coffee today. Yeah, I'm juiced up on my caffeine's starting to wear down. I'm juiced up on caffeine, and I'm probably going to need to be for the rest of the day because I'm with you. It's going to be a day. Yeah, the college football clocks go down. Jim said earlier in the chat that the college football clocks go down to 1 hour at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. So I would guess that's going to be the same. It'll be the same time for NFL clocks. But I don't know. You would think I would know, but I just vibing, man. Just in 1,000 slow drafts and whatever. Whenever they change the clocks, they change the clocks. We got more important shit to worry about, like Devon Vele. Erik, you might be a serial killer. I live on true crime and fantasy football YouTube. Dude, I'm with you. I actually don't watch much fantasy football content, if you believe that or not. I watch a lot of real. So like my favorite content from a sports perspective is like actual. I don't like listening as much to. There's some people I love listening to, right? But I've condensed down my fantasy football content consumption to like a core group that just like, those are the people I really, some of them are friends, but like people that I just like really want to hear talk. I don't want to give a list because I don't want to say, there's people that I really, really respect that are really, really awesome at this that I just, they don't listen to me. I don't listen to them. It's okay. I listen to like the real sport. Like I want to hear like actual like X's and O's and real life type breakdowns. And I listen to a lot of content that is, I have CMC. I almost just took her into. I did not get Keaton on the last team, right? Yeah, I did not get Keaton. And I think this team could use a Keaton. Aaron Jones, Sharps, Sampson. It's okay. Early season running back. It's okay. Just okay. But yeah, lots of serial killer stuff. Lots of true crime. I listen to a lot of true crime. Yeah. Most notably, BTK, Ted Bundy, Son of Sam. They never checked. They never checked their best ball exposures. Apparently, I'm going to have big bags of Chris Rodriguez in this tournament, guys. It does appear. Apparently, some big true crime podcast did an episode on a girl I went to high school with, says Swish. They did an episode. So she's a murderer or something. You went to high school with a serial killer? Did they catch her? I hope she's not free, because you might be next. It might be the Billy Madison scene. Oh shit! All I had to do was scroll a little bit. Her husband tried to slowly kill her via lead poisoning. That is nuts. Shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh, but it is wild. Drew says, just joined and saw you got the 2 Broncos. You're on the same page as me. They might have the best first 4-week schedule in the league. Let's fucking go. I agree with you, Drew. If anybody's watching, we got a little while till I come back on the clock here in the 16th round. I'll run down the team in just a second. But people come and go from the stream. Drew reminded me. Thank you for reminding me. If you're here and you've joined, if you could hit the thumbs up button, it is like genuinely really helpful. The algorithm and all that kind of stuff. If you click the thumbs up button, it's super duper helpful. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do. We got tons more. I drafted my 150th and final BBM team yesterday, and I walked through all my BBM exposures, but we got lots more drafting to do. Obviously, you see us here. We're going to be in DraftKings. We're going to be in Drafters. We got Survivor content. We got DFS content. We got it all coming. So if you subscribe to the channel, that would also be awesome. And tomorrow is a news recap show. Chris Godwin, the Devon Vele trade, Daniel Jones starting at quarterback, Joe Flacco starting at quarterback, maybe this potential Jalen Wright injury, what's going on with Brian Robinson. We'll recap everything tomorrow across the league from a training camp and like news and notes perspective. And then, of course, we'll draft some teams. But at the end of the Friday show, once this video is over, if you drop a comment on this video, right, talk about what you like, hate, tell me to go F myself. Don't do that. Whatever. Drop a comment on this video. You'll be entered to win a free ticket into the Drafters main event tomorrow, which is their $20 tournament, is $500,000 to first place. And it is definitely going to overlay. So every entry into the Drafters $20 is going to be worth more than $20 once that all comes full circle at the end of the summer. Let's see here. Did somebody take Ollie Gordon? That's really funny. What about another one of my? Let's do Damian Pierce. There's 7 running backs. Let's look at my wide receivers. Mike Evans, George Pickens, Jameson Williams. Okay, yeah, I definitely need to get to 7, I think, here. McBride Ferg is fine. Baker Dak is fine. This is going to have to do with, Rodriguez or Pierce or, certainly Sampson, Aaron Jones. I think that's fine at running back. We need to take some swings at wide receiver here. I know I mentioned that the Titans are one of the teams that I don't really want to be drafting all that much. And as you see here, in week 4, they play Houston. And, these are not great matchups, but it is a lot of correlation, right, for Erik Beimfohr. I do think he's a very good pick. He has the combination of what I think is going to be a real role to start the season. And, of course, just the general upside that comes with a rookie. Some people really liked him as a prospect. I was okay on him as a prospect. But I think the Titans are going to be losing a lot of these games to start the season, and he's their kind of wide receiver. I think it really fits this format, but also this particular structure of team that I'm drafting. So I am going to go through and make sure I don't screw this up and get some wide receivers in the queue here. Let's get some fun names in the queue here. I can add to my Cowboys thing and do Turpin. I can do Kayshon Boutte. I still think he beats out Matt Collins, but we'll see about that. Of course, we have Vele. We have Jalen Royals is okay in this. The Rams guys are like kind of intriguing. Parker Washington. Jalen Lane has been getting with the starters, which is kind of fascinating with Noah Brown injured. And of course, no Terry McLaurin. I did move Jalen Lane up in the rankings. Tez Johnson, I think, is like probably not a half PPR play out of the slot. Zay Jones, interesting. Zay Jones also, we got some correlation here. Seattle and San Francisco. Zay Jones is a starting wide receiver on the Arizona Cardinals. I have Trey McBride. Could create a little Sharbs, Trey McBride, Zay Jones. Week 4, I almost say week 17 correlation every single time. But week 4 correlation. Let's see. I don't know. I need to probably put him in the ranks, but I'm just add him to the queue while I'm thinking about it. If Darnell Mooney is not ready, Raheem Morris has said that Casey Washington is the guy that will fill in for Darnell Mooney. So take that for whatever the hell it's worth. Tariq Owens. What the fuck? These guys have ADPs. Gabe Davis has an ADP. Russell Gage. I need to remove Russell Gage from the rankings, but that's the sadness of a name that you have to put it like pick 240 or something like that in the ranking when you create rankings for this. Now they traded for Sky Moore, so that probably wipes out the Russell Gage thing. But like he was like probably going to play week 1, and he still might. Demarcus Robinson is suspended. Jordan Watkins is hurt. Brandon Ayuk is hurt. Jawan Jennings is not practicing. It's a shit show in San Francisco. Is the contest still alive to pick? I have no idea. Herzig created that. I would hit up Justin Herzig. That's a great question. Are we maxing this contest with slows even though the clocks are going down? I am. Real question, do you do WNBA at all? There's some nice lines on Underdog. I don't, but I honestly want to. Let's do... I'm going to do Turpin. Just do the Cowboys stuff. Cowboys are going to be the team you need. Add Turpin to my Pickens, Ferg, Dak stack. So team number 2 in the first quarter, we pulled up Christian McCaffrey all the way to the 102. Yes, here at Spike Week, valuing Christian McCaffrey in this tournament. Trey McBride, Mike Evans, George Pickens, Jameson Williams, Aaron Jones. Then we took Baker Mayfield to stack with Mike Evans, obviously. Zach Charbonnet, Dak Prescott, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, Dylan Sampson, maybe one of the best, if not the best picks in this entire format. Did the Broncos thing, Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin double dip after the Devon Vele trade. I also, of course, like Marvin Mims, and we talked about Evan Ingram. We talked about the Broncos are just a goddamn smash in this format. Keaton Mitchell, Chris Rodriguez, Damian Pierce, kind of a combination of very unique and different players, but all might have actual real week 1 to week 4 roles at running back. Erik Beimfohr and Kavonte Turpin to close it out. That is going to do it. As I mentioned, make sure to drop a comment after this video if you want to be entered to win. And even if you don't want to be entered to win the free tickets tomorrow morning. If you have not been around Spike Week this summer, check out the last couple of videos. On Tuesday, we recap preseason of week 2. There's some notable news and notes, I think, that will be helpful from in there. Tomorrow, we're going to recap what's going on, right, with all the latest news over the course of the last few days. And yesterday, I did my final BBM draft. I have maxed Best Ball Mania on Underdog, and I streamed the last couple drafts in my portfolio. I also walked through all of my exposure. So if you want to see how much my 60% Will Shipley, my, whatever, my exposures to all these players, and including the players I'm not drafting and did not draft very much in Best Ball Mania, you can check all that out on yesterday's show. We got more to come leading up to the fantasy football season, and I appreciate you guys hanging out. Hit the like button on the way out, and come hang out tomorrow. Coming out on Friday, we'll kick off the weekend with some fun best ball talk. But go get in those first quarter drafts, because that sucker is about to fill. I'm about to go fire a bunch myself. And I'll see you guys in the streets, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.